Welcome to Bridging the Generation podcast. I am your host, Malak Arif, and today I got another special guest for y'all. Now today, before we even get started, I'm gonna need you guys to let's get this engagement up. Please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I'm gonna give you guys a second to do that right now. All right, let's get into it. Today on the platform we have a legendary vocalist, recording artist, known for hits such as Free Love, There Ain't No Way, Closer Than Close, Don't Let It Go to Your Head, and many, many more. She is a classically trained vocalist, got her career started with Earth, Wind & Fire and ex-husband Jean Carne. She went on to record for the legendary Philadelphia International Records label during the mid-70s, early 80s. And she also has worked with the late, great Grover Washington. And with no further ado, introducing to the BTG platform, the one, the only, the lovely Miss Jean Carne. Let's go. Generation podcast. I am your host, Malak Arif, and today I have another special treat for y'all. My next guest is a singer, songwriter, vocalist, musician, just all around, just all around influential artist. I've been a diehard fan of hers for years. She really needs no introduction, but I'm gonna give her one anyway. And I'm talking about the one, the only, the lovely Mrs. Jean Carne. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great now that I have you on here.
Hey, work.
I'm doing great. So I like to ask a lot of artists before we even start, just how are you maintaining and coping with all the, everything that's going on in the world, especially as far as the this global pandemic. How have you been maintaining?
Well, I've been surviving, with mustering all the patience I could find. So I'm just grateful that, that my family's okay and my friends. Yeah. I've lost a lot of both of those, a lot of fellow artists, but we're going to try to represent them and pay homage to them by getting through this and then, keeping their names out there.
Keep soldiering on. I know we just recently lost Bruce Hawes, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
I don't know.
My heart.
Yeah, Bruce was.
Well, everybody at Philadelphia International, knew and loved him.
Yeah, Bruce was amazing. He was amazing.
Totally.
Yeah. And so yeah, rest in peace, Bruce Hawes. The late
That's
Bruce
right.
Hawes. So anyway, here we are. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. And like I said, I am a fan of yours, Jane, and I want to go back to the beginning because I feel like you have a very interesting story, and a lot of people I feel don't know that, even fans. We love the music so much, but sometimes we don't do our due diligence to learn more of the artists and know their history. So that's what we do here at Bridging the Generation podcast. So with that said, I want to start from the beginning. I know that you are from, you're originally from Columbus, Georgia.
I was born in Columbus, Georgia, lived there the first year of my life.
Okay.
Then we moved to Valdosta, Georgia. My father managed theaters in Columbus and in Valdosta.
No doubt.
My brother was born in Valdosta, Georgia. It's further south. And then we moved to Atlanta.
Okay. Now, at a very young age, music entered your life. You learn how to play, various instruments. So talk about that. Talk about that experience and what led you or what inspired you to really take a hold of music and allow it to be something that you just love and enjoy?
Well, I wish I knew, because I was involved in music since before I could remember. Because my mother used to tell me about a concert I'd give to anybody that came to our house, like when I was 3.
Okay.
And she said, and I would stand like this, and I'd put on my ballet slippers
Okay.
and do them a concert right there in the living room.
Mm,
And I started in the church choir at 4. Then piano lessons started at 5, and it was
mm.
just music all the way up. I was a music major in college, and I was in the band and the orchestra and the choir in high school and college.
Okay.
And it was just a musical life, if you will.
I know that's right. So, what were some of your influences, musically,
Oh gosh, the influences moved during different stages of my life. Like early on, like as a little girl, I loved singers like Mahalia Jackson, and I remember as a teenager seeing Aretha Franklin
hmm
traveling with her father, Reverend C.L. Franklin.
hmm
She was skinny girl in a choir robe, singing with her
Wow.
father at the City Auditorium in Atlanta. In fact, she sang a song, "In a Land Where We'll Never Grow Old." And I was accompanying church choirs then,
Okay.
so I added that song to my solo repertoire, and in fact sing it today. So it started out, like I said, with a lot of gospel singers, a few
Okay.
blues singers, because I got my first record player, the little record player in the box.
Okay.
Yeah, it was pink, like my granddaughter's is.
Okay.
And, and I collected records, 45s, 78s,
Mm.
which are the same size as a
The
33.
33. See, I'm
And
familiar with the 33,
yeah,
like these.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, it was about that size in diameter, but they were thicker, and
Okay.
they proceeded. Well, they came along at the same time as the 45s.
Okay.
The smaller ones with the bigger hole in them that had to go over the spindle on the record player. History here, uh, and I collected records. My folks would let me buy any kind of records I wanted. If I wanted blues or gospel or R
Okay.
and B, they were fine with the genre. Uh, and my dad, played a little piano by ear, and he was from New Orleans, and so he loved the big bands. So I got to hear the big bands early.
Like Louis Armstrong and all those guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because Louis Armstrong was older than him, but he was a legend even when he was a little boy. Daddy said Louis Armstrong was, and so he played for money, you know, around New Orleans,
Okay.
and yeah, and then like I said, church choir. I was the accompanist, and I started training voices then, and I
Mm.
still train voices today. I've been
Okay.
I've been vocal coaching all of the folks that I produced for Norman Connors,
Okay.
like Phyllis Hyman and Glenn Jones and Ada Retha, and
Mm.
you name it. I would, before we take them in the studio for me to
Okay.
produce their vocals. Norman Connors would take them in. Well, still does, because he has product that's going to be coming out soon.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah, and he would do the tracks. I'd come in, do a little training with them for the vocals, and then we'd record the vocals. So I've been doing that since that was 12. I
Ooh.
started doing that. Gosh, I guess my first record label was uh technically it was the first recordings I did were Earth, Wind, and Fire's two first albums on Warner Brothers, The Need of Love and Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Wow.
Uh, then Doug and I did at that same studio, Sunset Sounds in Hollywood. We
Mm-hmm.
did the first black jazz albums.
The Spirit of the New World and the Revelation projects.
Yeah, Spirit of the New
Yeah.
Land,
Spirit
Revelation.
of New Land, I probably.
Yeah,
Am I correct?
and Infinize.
Mm.
Those were the black jazz albums. Like I said, we did that first one in Sunset Sound Studio. Um, then I went with Norman Connors.
But let's go back. Let's slow it down. Let's slow it down. So let's take it back. Because again, you have a very interesting story. So growing up and as you are and embracing your talent, embracing your skills, did you have a certain direction of music that you wanted to go to? Because again, you love jazz, you love R&B, you love gospel. Was there a certain particular genre that you saw yourself in, or where you saw yourself flourishing, as a kid?
I love so many styles coming up that it was like changing clothes.
Right.
I could change one style, to the other. Now, the listening public, of course, thought that I was a jazz singer, a pure jazz singer first, because that was the first recording, because Doug and I did that. But like I said, before that was Earth, Wind and Fire's albums. And you know what their genre was, because they broke grounds.
This was right before the head to the keep your head to the sky album.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just before Jessica claimed.
Just before Jessica Cleaves.
Exactly right. Because Sherry Scott was the female lead then. There's a song that she did, was a big song for them. It was called "I Think About Loving You."
I love that song. Whoo, that's a classic.
Yeah.
I love that song. I think about love.
Yeah.
I like that.
Loving you.
She sounds amazing.
You. Oh yeah. Yeah, and Sherry's doing fine. She, let's see, last time I talked to her, she was living in Chicago. That's where they moved from. Because we met them because Doug and I eloped from Atlanta. We were still in college. We eloped to Hollywood.
Now talk about that before you we go any further. A lot of fans don't know that you went to Juilliard.
I was the year I was supposed to, the semester I was supposed to start Juilliard.
Okay.
When Doug and I eloped.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So talk about what led, again, continue. Talk about what led to you working with Earth, Wind and Fire on those first two projects.
Okay. Doug and I eloped, went to California, lived in this apartment complex. It was an apartment hotel complex in Hollywood on Franklin. And Earth, Wind and Fire came from Chicago to that same building. They lived in that same building. And that's how we met Maurice. In fact, Maurice knocked on the door one day. Doug and I were rehearsing. We had already done the lyrics and everything for the first album for Infinize, the first album on Black Jazz Records. And he knocked on the door and he said, "I heard the voice of an angel."
Oh my goodness.
So I followed it up the stairs. And that was, and after that was when he invited both myself and Doug to appear on those two albums.
Okay.
Doug played organ in fact, there's some arpeggios on the organ, on the B3 organ, on I Think About Loving You.
Oh, okay.
When you listen to it next time, you'll hear it.
I have that. I have that album. I have that album.
Yeah, that's a great album. Oh man. Yeah, and so we all lived in that building. That was the complex that Janis Joplin passed away in.
Ooh.
And most of the residents were artists for the most part. So in fact, the front desk guy had been on Gunsmoke for like 10 years. So he favored artists, because I met so many folks in there. Joe Zawinul, oh gosh, folks from Laugh In.
Oh my goodness.
The Chambers Brothers, Reverend Ike, Roberta Flack.
Okay.
just numerous folks, artists lived
Okay.
in that complex, and that was where Janis Joplin and her band
Mm.
were recording, and she that was where she passed away in that complex.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So here we are. It's 1972, and you're working with Doug. Talk about that time. Putting those first two projects together on the Black Jazz label. What was that experience like? Because again, we know you as a R&B singer, but a lot of us, we forget that you initially started out doing jazz. So talk about that.
Yeah, recording wise, yeah, I initially started doing jazz, um, but it was just this wonderful transition. Okay, the songs on Infinize,
Mm,
John Coltrane's um, "A Love Supreme," "Acknowledgement of Love Supreme,"
mm,
Horace Silver's "Peace,"
mm.
McCoy Tyner "Contemplation." On the second album, Lee Morgan's
Woo.
"Search for the New Land." Uh, we put lyrics to those songs because those were our favorite albums.
I like the last song on it, that New Moon. That's my cut right there. I love that New Moon.
Oh, you mean Moonchild?
Mo- I thought it was New Moon.
Wida, ba, wida, wida.
That's it. Yeah, it's called New. I thought it's called
Oh,
New.
Moonchild. And that was,
Oh,
in fact, that album, that song was named for Jeannie, the daughter you just saw who helped me get
yeah.
online.
Okay.
Yeah, because she's a Cancer, and that's Moonchild. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's my favorite cut on it.
Oh, wow.
I love those first two projects. I
I'll
really.
have to tell Doug about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's amazing because, like I said, when I listen to your later work, it's mind blowing to see the transition, but the quality remains the same, even though there's two very different genres. That's one thing I love about you, how you put together music. So again, let's talk this. Here we go. Now you just finished these two projects working with Doug. Now it's the,
Well, there are
night
three albums.
three. Oh, you did three?
Yeah, Infinize, Search for the New Land, Spirit of the New Land, which was,
Spirit of New Land.
yeah,
Okay.
that was Lee Morgan's song that was.
I thought it was only
And
two.
then no, then Revelation.
Oh, yes. How can I forget Revelations?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Talk about that experience. So, I mean, did you ever realize, like, this is, did you feel like, okay, this is where I belong? Because again, the music that you did later, it kind of shifted away from that particular sound. So, what did you ever see yourself as being a, Dinah Washington or, a Billie Holiday? Because those were some really good projects, and you really pulled that genre, you pulled that off really well.
Oh yeah. Well, I've sung, Dinah's "What a Difference a Day Makes."
Exactly. Oh, classic.
Morning hours. Yeah, yeah. When Doug and I were working on the albums, and like I said, when we were doing the
Hmm.
albums with Earth, Wind, and Fire, we did clubs in LA, and
Okay.
I sang standards, so that was no diggity. It was whatever genre you were doing at the time
Right.
was the one you
Okay.
loved the most,
Okay. Okay.
including opera. Because if you noticed on the first album, on the Infinize album, there's John Coltrane. It's called Welcome.
Mm,
It has an operatic opening.
yes. Woo!
So it's all music. It's like a hand, and the fingers are various genres and
Mm,
various disciplines of music, but it's all the hand. So
mm.
I never I
Wow.
never put those lines of demarcation, because
I,
it's all wonderful.
I no doubt. I understand. So talk about it. Like I'm listening to the way you talk, and I mean what you just built out is amazing. So talk about that 5 octave vocal range. When did you realize, like, I have a 5 octave vocal range? Like, when did you develop that?
I never even I never even measured it. I read that somebody there's a couple of folks on YouTube that give the ranges of singers.
Okay. Yeah. How do they measure that? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, one's called I Love Aretha Franklin, and one's called something like Iria, or I don't know exactly how you spell it, but they have the female singers, and
Okay.
they give the ranges, and they give you examples of the songs where they do from low B flat to
Mm.
high C sharp, that kind of thing. So I never measured my range.
Now, did
Never been important to me.
now back then, were you aware of, like, vocal ranges, octaves and
Yeah,
things of
'cause
that
I
nature?
played piano and organ.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
played instruments. I know the range and transposition for a lot of the instruments I play, clarinet and bassoon and oboe and
Right.
English horn. Yeah, yeah, definitely. The ranges.
Okay.
I never measured it, where singing was concerned. I know
Now what?
when I do the Messiah, you do the soprano um,
Okay.
arias, and I've got some arias that are coloratura.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
but you
Okay.
can count. I never counted.
that's a that's amazing. So what, again, you're a vocalist and you're a musician, so what do you enjoy more?
Whichever I'm doing at the time, honestly,
Okay.
it's that it's that integrated for me.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
whichever style
No doubt.
is
Okay.
just, well, great.
Okay. So here we are, now, it's the mid 70s and you appear, you land in Philadelphia. Now led, uh, you know, what led to you, working with Norman Cummings? Because I believe he's from Philadelphia, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
actually, Norman did grow up in Philadelphia. Um,
So how did you end up in Philadelphia working with Norman Connors on those his first, not his first two projects, but on the Saturday Night Special project and the Slewford project?
okay. Um, after I left Doug's group, I sat down with a friend and made a list of the folks I'd like to perform with, to
Okay.
record with, to go on the road with. And they were okay. Norman Connors had just left Pharaoh Saunders.
Pharaoh Saunders.
Yeah, and he was going on his own. Because I remember Doug and I were doing the Village Vanguard,
Mm.
and Norman came in that night with his first promo pictures. And so he gave me a picture, gave Doug a picture, and so he was on the list. Rasan Roland Kirk was on the list, whom I
Mm.
adored, because Doug and I used to, be really good friends with Rasan and Dorthan, his wife.
Mm.
And Dorthan is still a giant figure in jazz.
Yeah, I was about to say, you talk about some heavy hitters now.
Yes,
You talk about some heavy hitters.
yeah. And Thad Jones and Mel Lewis were the other
Woo.
big band that I thought I would just love working
And
with.
they ended up working, did a project on Philadelphia International as well.
I realized that there's a compilation. There's like about a ten CD set, and
Hmm.
yeah, I didn't realize that until then, till I saw all the listings, on
Yeah.
on Philly. Yeah, yeah, Thad and Mel
I think they
were
did one. I think they did just one album on
yeah, I
Philadelphia
think it
International.
was. I think it was. Yeah, they were a consideration, and I contacted all of them. They were all pro, my joining them, and that proved another, problem situation. And
Well,
but Thad and Mel were going to Russia. Maybe it was
mm,
Russia. They were going somewhere in Europe, but they were going in a week.
okay,
So I was afraid I couldn't get all the material under
right.
my belt, and I didn't have a passport at the time.
Mm.
I'd never been out of the country. So
Wow. So all that time you working, with Doug and Earth, Wind and Fire and
But
You
I never
never.
worked with Earth, Wind, and Fire. Just recorded with them.
Oh, you just record. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Doug and I we never worked with them. We just recorded those two albums with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So again, let's go back. Let's talk about this, this collaboration with the legendary drummer, Norman Connors. Talk about, again, that experience and you guys putting together one of my favorite songs, not just by you, but also by Norman Connors. Talk about that Valentine Love and,
Oh,
Skin Diver and Dee Dee, but in particular, let's talk about that Valentine Love, because that is a bona fide classic right there.
yeah, that's a good one. In fact, the one time I've gone out during the pandemic was on Valentine's weekend to
Okay.
to Keystone Corner in Baltimore.
Yeah.
It was because I haven't worked the whole year. I haven't worked since the end of since I left the Soul Train cruise,
Okay.
January of 20.
And what do you mean by the Soul Train cruise?
It's a
Oh, the Soul Train. Okay, the cruise. I'm
yeah, as
sorry.
in the show.
I, I'm thinking you. I thought you said the Soul. I'm thinking you said the Soul Train crew.
Oh no,
You
but
mean like the
we met
boat?
some of the Soul Train dancers on the
Wow.
cruise. It was so much fun. It was wonderful. It was
Okay.
wonderful. And I've done a
Okay.
lot of the music cruises. That one, and Don's son was, heading everything, and it was
Okay.
just so lovely. Um, so I haven't worked since then. So I Todd Barkin, who's the owner of Keystone Corner, whom I worked with in the 70s
Mm,
in San Francisco in the original Keystone Corner, uh, called me about because Doug and I did Keystone Corner last year when they first opened because they've only
okay.
been up a couple of years in Baltimore. He called me and this was before they shut everything down
Okay.
in Baltimore. That was when Doug and I worked, but
Okay.
they had a window where and the only way I was able to do it, reconcile being able to do that was that okay, my musicians had to all I have their negative certifications,
Okay.
for COVID. Um, Todd and his wife were negative. The sound
Mm,
man uh, and the tech and no
ooh,
people though. We were I was performing to chairs, and we recorded two shows in one night on
mm,
Valentine's Friday, and they played them back on Valentine's Saturday and Sunday. So otherwise, I I hardly go out of the house. There's weeks
wow.
sometimes that I don't even go out of the house. I don't do the grocery shopping, so I'm
You
just
still you're in Philadelphia, right?
yeah. But normally I spend half of the year in Atlanta.
Okay.
Haven't been
Okay.
able to get down there. What am
Okay.
I going to do? Beam down? I'm not flying.
I know that's right.
No, thank you. Can't.
Yeah.
No
Can't do that.
flying to Atlanta. No,
Yeah.
no busing. No,
I'm
no.
supposed to be going down to Atlanta too in 2 weeks in 3 weeks. Yeah.
You got your vaccination.
Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. I'm gonna have to get it though. You know.
But you need 2 weeks after your second vaccination.
Yeah, I heard about that. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. If you really wanted to protect you.
Okay. So look. Let's go back. Let's talk about you. We getting off topic a little bit. So let's go. Let's go back to this song right here because you give me some good information, but I want to know, and the fans want to know about the making of this song, Valentine Love. Like, what was that like? Did you ever realize like this song was going to be a classic? And what was it like working with Norman Connors?
Well, Norman's a dear. We're both Pisceans, so we get along cool because water signs are, we're real mutable.
My
And we're
daughter's Pisces
yeah,
upstairs.
yeah, we're cool. We're cool.
Okay.
Uh-oh, you sound like you may have the other kind of Pisces because they swim both ways.
Right.
According to which Pisces, which direction of Pisces you got.
Okay. 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 I know that's right. So talk about that. That Saturday. What was it like again? I want to know, like, when you guys recorded that song, because that song hit, I believe that was your first hits. Prior to then, you never you never had a song that charted,
Right.
and that was the
Nothing
first
like that.
that was the first time that you had a song that actually charted, and it charted pretty good. It was a top 10 hit. So
Yeah.
what was that like? And did you ever think that this song was going to be the classic that it is now? Because that song plays everywhere.
It does. It does. Actually, we were in the studio in LA. Michael Henderson was a bass player on the session.
Yes.
Um,
And he sings co lead vocals on that track as well.
yeah, and it's his composition.
His composition, yeah.
Yeah. But we took a break um, during the session, and Michael sat down on the keyboards and he started doing, those lines, ya da da da, ba,
Da, da,
da, da,
right,
yeah.
right.
And he started playing that line on the keyboard, and everybody gathered around and was like, "Where'd that come from?" And, and he said,
Mike is a great singer. I gotta add that Mike is a very, we know him as being this exceptional bassist, working with Miles Davis and a bunch
"Yeah,
of other guys, but he's an amazing vocalist. So
I had never heard Michael sing.
wow.
We didn't even know he could sing. Like I said, he was doing bass
Right.
on the session,
Hmm.
and he started singing, the first line, and he worked up the chords for the whole song. He did a rough sketch of the lyrics.
Okay.
Instead of going back to the song we were working on before the break, we went uh, went back on session, and he did the track. He did a mouth arrangement for the band, for the rhythm section of the
Okay.
track, and then we went in the booth and did the vocals and
Okay.
did those sketchy lyrics. Because if you listen to the lyrics, it says, "I'm sending you this Valentine in hope that you'll be mine. And if this Valentine doesn't reach you,
It's
it's
okay. It's okay. I love that part right
exactly."
there.
And we would just, it was kind of extemporaneous for the most part.
I like that word. I'm gonna have to add that to my vocabulary.
Without planning,
No, I
kind
know what it.
of,
I don't hear that word that often, but
uh,
I fell in love with that word years ago. But I need to start using that more because I love the
yeah,
way that
because
you, I love the way that you say
jazz
it.
turn,
Right,
the jazz turn
right.
because improvisation in jazz
Improvisation,
is
exactly.
extemporaneous. You know,
Mm,
yeah,
okay, okay.
yeah. But
So
that's how Valentine Love came about.
okay, so what was it like? Knowing this is you guys' first hit. What was that feeling like? Did you feel like I've arrived? Because up until that time, you put out 3 critically acclaimed projects, but there was not big sellers. But then you get this top 10 hit, and boom, this song is being played everywhere. You know, what was that feeling like just hearing a song on the radio? Because I don't was that your first song being ever played on the radio that you ever heard?
Well, see, the jazz albums
Right,
were really a big deal in the jazz world.
right. No. I'm not.
So,
I'm not.
but for
Uh,
Norman,
right,
but for Norman, yeah, it was a big deal. And
right.
I've never recorded or planned an album or a project thinking what it'll sell or how much success.
No
I'm
doubt.
just so into the,
Create.
the feeling and the
Mm,
gratification from,
right.
from the finished product,
Okay.
that I don't know. I guess it goes along with not knowing what my range is.
You just enjoy the creation,
I
you know,
do. I
creating,
really do.
creating the music, you know.
Yeah, that's life. That's the lifeline for me.
Now you work now you also you did the vocal production on those three songs on that project, you know. So what was that like? You know, was that your first time doing vocal production, or did you do vocal production on the three projects with Doug?
Oh yeah, yeah. I did the vocal production on the three projects with Doug.
Okay.
Yeah, and like you said, Norman's those albums and the Invitation album, that was with Aretha. Uh, Phyllis's Phyllis's first album. Um, in fact, I had signed with Philly International, and I couldn't do any outside projects. So Norman and I were looking for a singer to take my place on, on his recording. And
You got Phyllis.
yep,
He
Phyllis. Phyllis,
got Phyllis.
yep, she and her band were working in Florida. They came to New York to work
Yeah.
at McKell's, this small jazz club in Manhattan.
Okay.
And Norman called me, asked me to meet him at McKell's.
Hmm.
Phyllis and her band were performing there, and it took two bars, and it was like, oh my God, it was like, and the rest, that was her first recording.
Talk about your relationship with Phyllis Hyman. What was the, because this was before she really hit, got on the scene, and a lot of people forget about those times that, because I know she did Betcha by Golly Wow
That
with
was the
Norman.
first song.
That was the first
That's
song
what we did with her.
with Norman Carne. So talk about your relationship with Phyllis, and how special of an artist she was, because she ended up eventually working on Philadelphia International as well.
Right, right. Um, Phyllis had this beautiful heart, and she had issues, but an
Amazing voice.
amazing voice, and a real sweetheart. But she had jagged edges sometimes too. And she had some some substance
Right.
issues, and she grew up bipolar and manic depressive because her mother was manic depressive. Her
She's also from Philadelphia as well.
she's from she was living in Philly when she died. She had a place in Philly. She had a place in New York,
Okay.
and but she grew up in Pittsburgh,
Okay.
Buffalo. No, Pittsburgh. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. But she like I said, she lived in New York and Philly, and she we were cool. We were really cool.
Okay.
She never used profanity around me, and nobody else can say that. We got along beautifully in the studio,
Okay.
because there was one album of hers that Norman did some of the production on, and there were two songs where I did some high notes for her because I arranged the backgrounds and stuff, and
Okay.
and and we got along just fine because like I said, she told me about her suicidal tendencies,
Mm.
and and everybody's that who knew about that was trying to convince her to the contrary. She got help sometimes, but she never stuck with it for long.
Mm.
She just
She
left us too soon.
she it looked like she battled that pretty much her entire career, and it's
Yeah,
sad.
her entire life because her mother was manic depressant. She told me.
Right. Right. And it's unfortunate because we all love her. You know, we love her
Oh
music.
yeah.
We you know, she has this very special voice, and you know, we miss her even to this day.
And a good spirit. I mean, a good spirit.
You
Hmm.
know, you know. And by the way, did Michael also work with her? I believe.
Yeah, they did too.
Can't we fall in love again?
Yeah, and we both need each other.
And we both need each other. Yep.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
forget about
So
that one.
when Michael and I, perform together, we do those two
Okay.
duets. Yeah.
So you still see Michael Connors, I mean Norman Connors and Michael Henderson, you still see them around and
Oh,
or
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. In fact, Michael and I usually work together on Valentine's Day, and and we work together a lot.
he's still playing that bass?
You betcha. You bet. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that guy, he is a legend. I love some Michael
Yeah.
Henderson, you know.
Yeah. He did 30 albums with Miles.
Yeah, yes, yeah. He I believe he played on Bitches Brew, if I'm
Yep,
not
he did.
mistaken. Yeah. All that late 60s, early 70s, that was
Yeah, but
Michael.
see, he was a teenager
Yeah, he was a kid.
when he started with
Yeah.
Miles.
Even
Yeah.
when you guys recorded Valentine Love, he was only probably maybe 24, 25. He was young.
Yeah, well, we were all young when we
Yeah,
did
I know. So look, let's fast forward. So you know, you recorded, you know, you recorded two more songs on the Slewfoot project, and you know, which was another exceptional album by Norman Connors. And boom, 1976, you land at Philadelphia International Records. Now, talk about that transition because you know, with the talent that you have, you should have been had a solo deal. But you know, I'm glad, you know, timing is everything. So here we are, 1976. Talk about that.
Wow. It was um, Kenny Gamble mentioned the fact that his when I first met him, his neighbor had given him the Infinize album. So he had followed my career, he said.
Okay.
And then when he heard I was a solo, I was with Norman, and I performed with Duke Ellington, and he got this keyboard player in Philly to get in touch with me. So we talked about my signing with the label. It was There was a Muhammad Ali bout in Atlantic City.
Okay.
So came in Philly, talked to him, and everybody in the building had left to go to AC, to see the bout. And so we were going to talk. He was gonna get on up there too.
Okay.
We talked through the bout, and I decided to go with them because it was a family. It was a family company. It still is. They're still
Right.
my family.
Right. Right. Now, were you, you know, like familiar with, you know, Philadelphia International? Did you ever realize like these guys are going to go down in history as some of the greatest songwriters of all time slash producers, greatest songwriter and producers of all time?
I never thought about it that way, but I knew I knew 90% every song everybody on the label had recorded because they that was the music. That was the music that touched me and touched the country and the world.
Sound of Philadelphia. So what was it like? You know, here it is. You know, you released your self-titled project in 1976 with the first single, I believe, was Free Love.
Right, right.
So, you know, here's a song that's, you know, that was very experimental. And this song, it talks about a lot of issues as far as, you know, what was going on, you know, around that time and things that's still prevalent and relevant to in today's society too. So talk about that. What was that like recording that song, and how did you feel about recording a song of that nature?
Well, the reason I felt so comfortable going with Philly in the first place was because they had messages. there's a message in the music. In fact, Kenny Gamble has a podcast show. I'm sure you've
Of course.
seen it. Message in the music.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that, because the music that Doug and I did, the three Black Jazz albums.
Right.
Black Jazz is celebrating 50 years.
Okay.
We're on our 50th anniversary.
Ooh.
So
that's whoa, time out. So Black Jazz and Philadelphia International is celebrating 50 years.
Yep.
Okay, I just had to stop you for 1 second, but continue. Yeah, I didn't realize that.
True. Yeah. So it was a smooth transition, and I love the messages. There's a shortage of good men. Songs like they did for the OJs, like Backstabber and Wake Up Everybody.
Yeah.
There was that message, and the slogan was understand why you dance. So you're getting positively programmed while you're boogieing.
While you enjoying yourself. So what was it like just walking into what was it like the first time walking into that studio, Sigma Sound Studio or 309 Broad Street?
Broad Street.
Yes. What was it like just walking into those doors and just seeing all these amazing musicians and these legendary artists? What was that like?
Yeah, well, I would come in, when I'd come into town to perform.
Okay.
Before I started going to the studio, I would visit the building, and I'd just walk around and look because the different rooms. Dexter had a room, Tom Bell, Tom Bell,
of course,
and
Mighty Three Music,
Mighty Three, yeah, Bunny Siegler. Everybody had their production room.
Okay.
So I could just peek in, I'd introduce myself. Everybody was cool. They embraced you. They didn't, there were no big egos. I was so impressed with that. And so it's like, wow, these are the people. These are the real folks. And it just, after I signed, it flowed very smoothly. Gamble would urge me not to sing anything. I didn't want to sing. I'd come in, I'd see what every writer had for me, and choose the songs that way. It was just ideal. It was couldn't have. Bless you.
That's my son.
Somebody's got the sniffles.
That's my little boy.
Oh.
It's okay.
He's talking to me. Hi.
Yeah, he said hello.
Hello.
Not yet. Hold on, son. So
is he gonna take your seat in a little while?
No. You want to come here, son? Come here. You want to get in? Come here for a second. Here we go. Come in. Come around. This is my little boy. Say hi. This is Jean Carne. Say hello.
How are you?
Hi.
What's your name? Tell me your name.
Malak.
Oh, you're Malak. Are you junior or the second?
He's the second.
All right. Lovely meeting you, Malak the second.
All right. Go back and finish playing with your toys. So tell him bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Malak. He's wonderful.
Yeah, it's my little guy. It's my little man. I have him sitting here, first time. So here we go. Again, that project, I love that album. A lot of great songs came off that album. I believe Gamble and Hupp, they wrote and produced half of the project, but you work with, just when I'm looking at the track list right here, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. So here we are. Let's go into the second project. Now, this is the one that really, I think that cemented your place in R&B history.
Really? Okay. What about that one?
I, in my opinion, Happy to Be With You. This is my favorite Philadelphia International project by you. And it's close because the first one is amazing. All of them are great, but those first two, whoo, and one of the singles was "Don't Let It Go to Your Head." I believe that was the biggest hit that came off that project.
You bet. You bet.
Yeah. So what was it like? Talk about that song. Another Kenneth Gamble, Leon Huff, a song, a production, and they also wrote the song. So talk about that song a little bit, because we that's another classic, and we want to know.
Yeah, that one, that's like become my theme song.
Yeah.
When Gamble gave me the it was a cassette back then, with him singing the lyrics and playing guitar, and strangely enough, he said,
"Hold on, time out. I have to stop. Mr. Gamble plays guitar."
Yeah. He's a singer too.
I know now. I know I heard, and because like I said,
about Kenny Gamble and the
Romeos. I've interviewed Russell Tompkins,
sure. Okay.
Shirley Jones, Gerald Alston. So they all say that he's a great singer, but I had no idea that he played the guitar.
Yeah. And when he gave me the tape, he said, "Don't worry about the backgrounds. Huff and I got that." I said, "Cool." So I finished my lead vocals. The track was done. Finished my lead vocals. Went 20 feet to his office from the studio door, and said, "Don't is ready for y'all to come in and do the backgrounds with me." And so Gamble said, "Oh, that's okay, Gene, you got it." And I said, but you promised." Because I thought that was cool, because I didn't know they had sung on anybody's product. So I said, "Yeah, let's do this." And so of course they acquiesced and came in with me and sang the backgrounds on that with me.
So who were the background singers? I believe it was like Barbara Ingram,
Paula Benson, Yvette Benton. Yeah. They were the Sweeties. In fact, they went out with Patti LaBelle. They sang on
the Spinners.
80% of the product. That came out of Philly International.
Okay, so those first two projects recorded at 309, or was that recorded at Sigma?
Well, Sigma, there was a Sigma in 309.
Right, that's why I asked. So which one?
And there was another Sigma on 12th Street.
That's the one. That's the one that when we think of Sigma sound, most people think
one. Yeah.
Right. We think of that one. We think of 212 North Street.
Yeah, exactly.
And then and when we think of Philadelphia,
212 12th Street.
212 12th Street, which I just visited last year. But when we think of 309 Broad Street, we think of that just being the headquarters. We forget that there was studios in 309.
There was that one studio, the original Sigma Sounds. Yeah.
Which was also the home of Cameo Parkway before it was Philadelphia International.
Right. Because I remember Huff said when they bought that building that he, brought him to tears to think that he used to slip in there to listen to them recording, and they would chase him out of that building. And then there he is. He owns it.
As he owns it.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, that's success. That's
right. No doubt. That's talk about turning the tables. So you went on to record two more projects on Philadelphia International. So talk to me. What were some of your most memorable moments? Being working with Kenneth Gamble, Leon Huff, Dexter Wanzu, just these legendary artists. Talk about that experience.
It was unforgettable. It was like working with your uncles and your brothers and your in-laws. It was as good as it gets musically, because okay. I thought going with Motown would be the same way.
Yeah, because you did one album with Motown, I believe.
Exactly. Yeah, but it wasn't the same vibe. There were good folks there. In fact, Rick James, my buddy.
How often did you see Barry Gordy?
I saw Barry. Well, I talked to Barry more than I saw him.
So I heard he was like, like the Phantom. You didn't see him much around that time.
Yeah, yeah, because they had moved to L.A.
Right, right.
when I went with them.
And he was in some movies, doing movies and things like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But that marriage wasn't like Philly. And of course, the only reason I went with them was because Gamble was getting ready to close Philly down because he put some of the artists on what was the name of that?
TSOP.
On TSOP label, me, the
TSOP.
OJs, and a few others before he shut everything down. And it was Gamble's president of Philly International who negotiated my contract with Motown. Because
Wow.
I thought, well, this is a family company.
Right.
Motown would be, just as wonderful.
Yeah.
But it was a whole different vibe.
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, let me go back to your time in Philadelphia. I like to ask artists that work with Kenneth Gamble and Leon Huff because those are my Kenneth Gamble and Leon Huff. Those guys are my favorite songwriters and producers of all time.
You
But
bet. Welcome to the club.
but what a lot of people don't realize, and this is something that I talk with Deanna Williams, and we had this conversation when I interviewed her as well. And I don't think people realize the amount of pressure that was on Mr. Gamble as far as I don't think we've ever seen anything like that. Like talk about this. He was not only writing him and Leon Huff, but they're writing, they're producing songs and running a label. Did you ever think about that? Like, how are you able to do this? Like that, I could not even imagine running a label and I have to write and produce songs for these artists. Like that's insane.
It takes a very special kind of mentality and talent. I mean, you got to be talented in so many areas, and you got to be able to pat your head and rub your stomach at the same time. That kind of thing.
That's what I'm talking about. And I don't think a lot of people, when I think of a lot of the great songwriters and producers of our time, they didn't run labels and like that. Like they were writing and producing songs these songs that they were writing and producing, they were hits. There's other artists that songwriters and producers that wrote songs and probably ran a label, but they were writing hits.
Yeah.
And you were a part of that.
Hundreds of top 10 songs.
I mean, hundreds.
Then if you don't, and that is if you don't count songs like Me and Mrs. Jones that sold 6 million copies. Yeah.
Yes.
That takes a very special individual.
Right. So now, were you living in Philadelphia at this time?
No, I never really lived in Philly. I was a part-time Philadelphian then, because I came in for months at a time to record, and I performed in the area so much till Philly claimed me, and I claimed Philly back. Yeah, but now I'm in Philly half the year.
Okay. So you, like I said, you did one project. You did the Trust Me project on Motown, which I like that project. That's a pretty solid project. But the album that really, that I remember, I vividly remember this project because I was a kid. The stuff that you did on Philadelphia International, I wasn't born. Like when you did Don't Let It Go to Your Head, I was born that year. So I was born that year. So I know about that catalog just through just my research and just being a Philadelphia International fan, just me being a Jean Carne fan. But what I vividly remember being played on the radio here in DC was Closer Than Close.
Oh yeah.
So talk about that. You move over to Omni and you put out a great album. I love this album. Talk about that single, and talk about some of the artists, some of the artists that you work with on that Closer Than Close project.
Wow, another Philadelphia label, Omni.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they were distributed by Atlantic.
Okay.
WEA, Warner Brothers Electra Atlantic.
Right. Weird. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were distributed by them, and I remember my my manager then mentioned because this news guy had who went to school in Atlanta, was good friends with Grover Washington Jr.
Mm.
and and he mentioned to me that I should hook up with Grover, since I'm on these labels in Philly.
Right.
And Grover was a first, a favorite son of Philadelphia.
Exactly.
Yeah, and my manager got got us together,
Mm-hmm.
and it was simpatico. I mean, like we were kindred spirits, and so that was how Grover produced the first my two albums on Atlantic, because
Wow.
we met, yeah, we met, and
Now closer to close with number one.
yeah,
With
yeah,
number one. So here you are. You've been in the, at this time, you've been in the music business, as far professionally, as a professional recording artist at this time. What are we talking? 16, 17 years.
yeah, yeah.
So here we are. You get your first number one hit. Now talk about that. Was that long overdue? And what was that feeling like? Like, whew, here we go. Number one.
Well, it was cool. Although, like I said, I never aimed that way. I just aimed to. I go by the reactions of my
Right.
my live crowds,
Mm.
and they love "Don't Let It Go." I mean, "Don't Let It Go to Your Head." They sang that in Japan. They loved it everywhere.
That's a classic.
Yeah. So
That's now speaking of, I got to go back to that. You brought up. I'm glad you brought that up, and I meant to mention this earlier. That song has been sampled by so many hip hop artists.
yeah,
Most notably, Brand Nubian. Off the top of my head, I know Brand Nubian sampled that,
yeah.
and a lot of other hip hop artists. So, how do you feel about that? Just did you ever realize the impact that song was going to have on not just the rhythm and blues community, but as far as the hip hop community as a whole?
Didn't know, had no clue, but it just blew me away because somebody introduced me to who sampled, and I couldn't believe, you
How
know,
many artists that sampled that song?
yeah,
It's a
yeah, brand
long
new
list.
headies,
Brand new,
brand
yeah,
new headies. Oh, so many
yeah.
artists did
And they
wonderful
still sample.
versions.
They still sampling to this day.
Yeah, and you know what else got big samples and still does? Um, I'm Back for More
Oh, back for more.
that
That's
I did with Al Johnson.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that was off his solo project.
hmm
Yeah,
In
the
fact,
late.
Norman Connors produced that. They did it. They recorded it in L.A. and they had finished the album and they didn't have a strong single. So
Okay,
I was in Atlanta. They called me to come out, and work with them on the single.
okay.
And we looked for a song. We found "I'm Back for More" on an old Tavares album.
Mm,
It was never a single
right.
for them. And so I went to LA to produce the vocals. Al did the track. Al was that genius.
That's another great singer right there.
Oh,
Former lead singer the Unifics here in DC.
exactly. Yeah, in fact, I put the Unifics opened for me at the Ella Fitzgerald Theater
Okay.
3 years ago, I guess it was, um, for Ella Fitzgerald's centennial celebration.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and they sang "I'm Back for More" with me.
And
Also sang
now that
"Valentine
song
Love"
was
with me.
th-
Uh,
that song was a hit as well. It didn't go number one, but that song, it did pretty good on the charts.
oh, and Europe,
Yeah.
Europe, it's as big as "Don't Let It Go to Your Head" for me.
So talk about that. I want to switch gears for a second. I want to switch gears. it seems like in Europe they have a certain appreciation for rhythm and blues that I feel like the United States once had. Now, and now when I say that, I'm not saying that the United States don't appreciate rhythm and blues. I just feel like in Europe they preserve it. They preserve rhythm and blues. Here in the States, if we don't hear you on the radio or if you're not in our face, and that's not everybody doesn't have that, that mindset. But it just seemed like in Europe, because I'm really close with Shirley Jones' son, Cam.
Cam, yeah.
And who shout out to Cam Jones, by the way, who set this interview up. Shout out to Cam.
That's
Love you, bro.
right.
Appreciate that. Got to give you a special shout out, Cam.
Yeah, that's nephew.
Yeah. Got to give a special shout out to Cam Jones. But me and him were talking about that, and we were just talking about, he's telling me how in Europe, his mom is you guys. It's almost as if it's 1978, 1979 over there. Like, not saying that we love you over here. Let's not make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
But in Europe, they act like Closer Than Close just came out yesterday.
They certainly do.
So talk about that. I know I'm a little long-winded. I'm getting a little excited because I'm talking to Jean Carne.
That's good.
But talk about that, because me and Cam have these conversations all the time, and I even had this conversation when I interviewed his mom, when I interviewed Shirley. But I have you on here. So what is your take on that?
They're just one of those unique markets,
right?
That like you said, they don't care if you haven't had a hit in 40 years.
They don't care. They've
got these categories, rare grooves, and when Northern Soul, yeah, and when your records used to come out there, instead of whatever single the U.S. had released,
right?
When they get over there, they choose their own singles.
I know
Shirley might have mentioned to you that we, when we prepare to go to Europe, we have to study the songs that were their singles that they like, that we never have to do over here.
Elaborate on that a little bit, because that's interesting that you mentioned that, because I noticed when I look at the hits in the United States, because I also had this conversation with Russell Tompkins, and then I look at the hits in Europe, they're different. Like, I'm like, what is going on here? Talk about that a little bit.
They have their own ears, their own favorites, their own likes and dislikes.
Yeah.
And like I said, when your record comes out 40 years ago, they choose their singles.
I like that.
And the folks, the folks that come to see you, they do a lot of standing over there. There are a few tables and chairs, except in smaller venues. But even those, they tend to have some tables and chairs around the wall. But most of the audience is standing shoulder to shoulder.
And they don't mind.
For an hour and a half.
And they don't mind.
And they sing every word with you.
Right.
And for those songs that you had to study, they know them better than you do. They're so cool like that.
Even down to the ad libs.
Yes. Yes. And the harmony.
Because you're known for your ad libs, especially on one of my favorite songs you covered about the Spinners.
Love Don't Love Nobody.
That is my I can't put it above the Spinners, but it's neck and neck.
Yeah, that's
neck.
too.
But I say that to say this: no other cover of that song holds a candle to your version. No other cover of that song hold a candle to your version, in my opinion.
Okay.
So I love, and that's I love that song. Like,
Me too.
when you recorded that, wow, You know, what was that? And then talk about that a little. Like what made you record that song? You know, because at that time, that song is, I believe, what we talking, 7, 8 years old at the time.
Easily, yeah.
You know,
yeah. It just.
And that's a Tom Bell track.
No, Tom did the arrangement. That song was written by
Joe Jefferson
and Charlie Simmons.
And Bruce Halls. Was he on that one too?
Oh, that's right, Bruce.
Yeah, all three of them used to work a lot.
They did Sadie too.
Yep. Well, they pretty much brought, I say, about 75% of those Spinner songs. But so talk about that. Talk about what made you want to cover that song, because at that time, I don't believe no artist covered that song, if I'm not mistaken. At that time.
Not at that time. It just spoke to me, and I started singing it on my shows, and it got to the point where, you know, if I didn't do it on a show, you know, they shout it out, so I'd have to do it. So I ended up recording it. But you know whose version I adore?
Whose?
Phil Perry.
Yeah, he does a good version too.
Oh no, he does a great version.
He does a great version. He covers some really good songs. His version of "Call Me" by Aretha Franklin.
Crazy? Oh, that's crazy. Yes, it's insane what he does when he covers a song. It's like his covering a song is like Luther's covering a song.
Oh my God, he owns it. He owns it. I that one slipped my mind right there, because, you know, "Call Me" was a #1 hit, so that really stood out. But yeah, you're right. His version was was excellent as well. You know?
Yes, yeah, because that song spoke to me like "Ain't No Way" did. You know, that Aretha did, that I redid.
Okay, so speaking of Aretha, you know, talk about some of your contemporaries. You know, some of your peers. Who were some of your favorite artists that, you know, outside of you recording or you working with? Who did you ever enjoy? Going to watch in concert.
Ooh, well, Everybody Loves the Emotions.
Hutchinson Sisters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Osborne, because we've been on the road together.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. My cousin Peebo Bryson.
Oh, that's your cousin.
Yeah, we were on the. He came back from his cardiac incident, and the Soul Train cruise was his first foray. You know, he got back out.
Right.
Still sounds like an angel.
Just like you. It must run in the family, because, you know, you sound amazing. You know, I saw you, I believe I was watching you on YouTube live, and this was you. I don't remember exactly where you were performing, but this was maybe a couple of years ago. And I'm like, Jean Carne ain't miss a beat. She sound like it's 1979. So talk about that. Like, how do you maintain, the quality and the richness of your voice? You know, what do you do to preserve that?
Oh boy, I'm a vocal coach, so I have to show other folks how to, preserve and maintain and improve on their vocals. So, no smoking, no drinking, no drugs, no, none of that stuff. I never learned to drink, so I didn't have to get off alcohol.
Well, I'm pretty sure you've seen some things that made you, and we're not gonna go into detail, but I'm pretty sure just being in the business, that made you not want to even ever go down that direction.
Yeah, and alcohol is an acquired taste. I'm convinced. So if you never try it, you never like it.
Okay.
Same way with smoking.
Yeah. Now I think about it. I drew. It probably looked like I drew a blank, but I actually did, because I didn't realize like what you said is true. It is an acquired taste, because it's either you like it or you don't like it. And when most people who don't drink alcohol, they or most people that try alcohol say like one time and they don't like it, they never touch it again.
Wow, I guess so. Because I had some by accident when I was playing for church choirs. I was a teenager,
Okay.
and I only took communion at the churches that had grape juice.
Okay.
And once I remember I'm sitting there at the organ at the B3 and took communion, and they must have changed to wine. And I couldn't tell the difference in the taste. I never tasted wine.
Right. Okay.
But maybe 10 minutes later, my stomach starts to rumble.
Uh-oh.
I thought I was having a heart attack. I didn't know what.
It's amazing. It's amazing the things that we can vividly remember, like,
Yeah.
like I'm pretty sure that was well over 50 years ago.
Yeah, but like, where were you in 911?
I vividly remember that.
Yeah, it was one of those traumas. And it was like, wow, I
Yeah.
really don't like that stuff.
Hey, well, I'm glad you.
drank at my house, so I didn't grow up, with
Okay.
with alcohol. So
Well,
never
I'm glad.
got the taste.
I'm glad you did not divulge in that type of activity, because your voice, whatever you do to maintain your voice, it is working. And I had no idea that you're a vocal coach. So now I want to ask this question: like, being a vocal coach, do you have to be able to sing to be a vocal coach?
Well, it helps. It helps. It's according to what you're teaching to whom. Because I've got some clients that I have to unteach bad habits, bad vocal habits, and unteach things that they did to be able to perform certain genres.
Right.
You have to help them to change their vibrato. Sometimes you got to teach them how to breathe, enunciation, and so it's according to who you're working with at the time. But I started that when I was 12, when I started playing piano and organ for church choirs. Because if you're preparing for a big work like the Messiah, you've got to sing all the parts.
Right.
In section rehearsal, you got to sing the bass to the bass player, to the bass singers, and then you got to sing to the coloraturas as well, and the altos, and so it all started then, because and when you're doing choirs, you got folks with crazy vibrato, vibrato that will just make your flesh crawl. You got to teach them how to smooth out the wave,
Okay.
and make it more palatable.
So what are you? You are an alto, if I'm not mistaken.
I sing from baritone to coloratura, soprano.
Okay. So who are some of the artists that you have worked with as far as like, vocal training, if you don't mind,
Well, of course, Phyllis, Glenn Jones, Ada Retha, Michael Henderson.
Okay.
When we rehearse, when we're doing gigs together, he lectures the band. He said, "No, you listen to Miss Carne because she taught me."
Right.
Yeah.
Is Michael still playing the bass and singing to this day?
Yeah.
Hey, we gonna have to talk, Jay, because I'm a huge fan of you. I'm a huge fan of Michael Henderson as well. But yeah, so continue. You said Michael Henderson. You said Glenn. I just interviewed Glenn Jones, by the way, as well too.
Yeah, because on a Norman Connors album was where Glenn recorded his first music, because we were looking for a male singer to replace one of his singers that it left his organization, Norman.
Hold on. You telling me that you worked with Glenn Jones on what's it called? Melancholy Fire?
Exactly.
No way.
Yeah, he was a gospel singer in Florida.
Yeah. He was out
He
of
sent
work
us a cassette.
with James Cleveland.
Yeah, and I chose him
Oh,
as the replacement for this singer who had been singing with Norman.
man,
Um,
this is amazing.
and I remember the lyrics were "Melancholy fire in my heart desire for you, baby."
Yeah.
Glenn was so church at the time till it was like, I can't sing that lyric. So I changed the lyric to "Melancholy fire in my heart desire just for you." And he was cool.
Okay.
He was cool. And he's just made us so proud ever since.
What do you think about his vocal performance? Like, when he, towards the end of that song, when he just take it to another level. That's all you.
Yeah.
How proud are you? Because I listened to his his albums or music with the modulation. It was some great stuff. Don't get me wrong. But that song right there, and which I had no idea that you worked with him on that, it really showcased his vocal talent. So talk to me a little bit. How proud of you of Glenn on that song?
Oh, totally. I mean, that was his maiden voyage,
right,
into secular music.
Introduction. Yeah.
He took it and ran with it.
No, he did. He took that baton and was gone.
He did, and he's still doing it.
Yeah. Like I said, I interviewed him maybe 3 weeks ago, and he still sounds amazing. He still says so. I wanna touch on this topic because this is something I can't I can't wrap this interview up without mentioning this. I was watching a documentary a while ago, and it was on the Dungeon family, and Rico Wade and the other guys, man, they said that they used to come over the house when, in Atlanta. So talk about your relationship with the Dungeon family, because I had no idea that they were telling me how influential you were in their development. So talk about, working with Rico Wade and, the guy, those brothers in the Dungeon family.
Yeah, well, Gip, because his name's Cameron Gip. In the Goody Mob.
Goody Mob, yeah.
Yeah, lived in our quadrangle, and Rico.
Rico Wade.
Yeah, we all they all went to school with my kids, so they rode with us. We would do the carpooling and stuff.
Okay.
So it was that my son started a studio in our house. I built 2 storage rooms. When Sam's and Costco and all those heavy bulk item stores started,
right.
I built 2 storage rooms onto the side of the house.
Okay.
I'm on the road. My son empties one. I don't know what he did with my stuff.
Wow.
But he empties one and took all my tape recorders, all my musical equipment, my keyboards, speakers, etc., and set him up a studio. And he he did his own version of sampling, of looping, by using 3 or 4 tape recorders, and then putting it all on a TAC, on a real.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And it was, and Cam and Rico and those kids were his playmates, and so they played at our house because you could always come to our house.
That's what he said.
Was always there, and the sliding glass door was always open. My mother was there. If you forgot your keys, if you couldn't get in your house, your parents knew you come to our house, to pick you up after school.
Okay.
So they all got their exposure, and it was during the Gulf War. Joey put together this group, and Cam and Rico and those guys were in there, and they wrote a song about. He wrote a song about the boys coming back, from the war and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And they all, you could come to Joey's studio even if he wasn't home, and they all got their first exposure, and of course
This
they learned their manners at my house. You don't learn, you don't cuss, you don't drink,
yeah,
you don't smoke, you learn all it, because if Auntie Jean doesn't do it, you can't do it. So
no doubt.
yeah, they got their start there.
Yeah, that was interesting. That I watched that documentary, I believe a couple of maybe back in 2018, and I was shocked. I had no idea, that they had association with the legendary Jean Carne. I was like, wow, and now I can hear, like when I listen to that music. So, did you guys ever have any conversation? Did you ever get to see like their foresight, as far as like music? Did you ever realize like these guys are about to be the next big thing? Because this is before the Dungeon Family. There was no Dungeon
Oh
Family
yeah, oh yeah,
at this time. This is way before that.
yeah. This was like they were elementary school when, well, no, they were middle school when they
Yeah.
started, when Joey started that. But they were just cool kids, and they did their thing, and Joey taught them everything he knew.
Yeah.
And they got to hear me and hear my new records, and they just grew from there.
No doubt, no doubt. So here we are. You released 3 more projects after that. I can't go through every single project because we'd be here all night, and I'm but you continue to sing, you continue to bless us with your grace, your beauty, as far as just being able to give us this quality music. How do you feel? What inspires you in 2021 to still want to release music and still want to just continue to sing?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's so much a part of me,
Right.
and I'm I'm healthy. I still love the music,
And
and
you look amazing, by the way. If I didn't say that, I don't know if I say that way too many times, but you look amazing.
yeah, and the audience are still calling for
No,
us, and they still show up. I mean,
yeah.
they really show up.
So what's the next plan? Because it seemed like things are starting to open up. You
It
know,
does, doesn't it? Yeah.
the weather's. I mean, today here in DC, I mean, it was like 75 degrees, and people are getting their vaccines, and things are starting to get some type of semblance of normalcy, so to
That's
speak.
true. That's true.
So what
Yeah.
do you think about all of that? And what's your plans in the future?
Well, my next planned situation is September. It was
Okay,
supposed to have happened last May,
gotcha.
but it's going to be in September. It's the Portugal Soul Weekender.
Mm,
Again, it's in Portugal, and
okay,
it's the 23rd through the 27th.
no doubt.
I think by then, and it's all outdoors. It's an
Okay,
outdoor situation, and I think by then, because everybody I know, all the band members, everybody is
okay.
getting their vaccines, and so that's that one I'm looking forward to, and there'll be other situations as it feels right, you know.
Mm,
Like I said, I don't even go to the grocery store, so I'm scared to get out there. But this one, I'm looking forward to.
okay. Well, I look forward to hearing, whether you do some, new music or, in concert performing. I look forward to seeing you, hearing your voice one way, shape, or form. It don't matter. I want to hear some Jean Carne. So with all that said, what are you most proud of? As far as your career, when you look back and you think of where this all started from, and now here we are. Did you ever realize that that you would have accomplished all that you accomplished in the music industry that you have?
Wow. Well, I might be more proud of my children. than I am of what I've accomplished in the business.
Okay, I can respect that.
The business is cool, but my kids are really really my pride and joy, and they have accomplished, you know,
Mm,
far beyond my dreams. So
no doubt, no doubt.
probably.
That's a healthy balance, though. That's a lot of, when I ask artists that, you're not the first artist that mentioned that, and I like that. And to me, when artists talk about things of that nature, it shows, the humility, and that's one thing I love about artists like yourself, artists like Shirley Jones. You guys. My next question would have been, well, I'm going to ask it, just what makes you, what keeps you so grounded? Because here you are, you Jean Carne, and you're talking to me, you're taking time out of your schedule to talk to me, and I really appreciate it. So what keeps you so grounded, knowing that all that you have accomplished in your career?
Well, I think my mother's teachings, you
Okay.
know, have kept me grounded all my life. It's just those little gems that
Right.
that she mentions as you're growing up, and having been in front of crowds all my life, like when like at 4 when I was singing solos in church,
Right.
she would introduce me to to families who would come from little Georgia towns to hear me sing solos at
Hmm.
4. So it you know I guess when it starts that early, you don't get to develop an ego. It's just your job, and you take it like it is and be
I
grateful.
know that's right. I know that's right. With Jane, is there any, like I said, we here in 2021, music has changed a lot over the past, since since your prime recording years, or just I'll just say, the past 30 years, who are you listening to right now?
Ooh, who am I listening to? Well, I like to listen. I like to listen to the Philly catalog, the Motown catalog, the Stax catalog.
Ooh, can't go wrong with them.
Yeah, and of course, like the Atlanta kids, like the Goody Mob and the Dog Pound and
Okay.
Andre and CeeLo
Yeah.
and those
Oh,
kids that
he's amazing.
that I knew since they were children. I like them.
Okay. Hey, you can't go wrong with those guys. And, just being in your presence, I can see where they get that soulfulness, where they can get, where they get some of that soulfulness from, because it definitely rubbed off, because these guys, as you know, these guys are legends as well.
Aren't they something? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you was there. You was there at the beginning.
Atlanta Pride.
Okay. Okay. So look, Jane, it's been a pleasure talking with you, having this opportunity to sit down and talk with one of my favorite vocalists of all time. Words. I'm at a loss of words. I'm at a loss of words. I can't believe that
I
I'm
talked
actually
all your words away. That's what's wrong.
talking.
I won't,
No,
I won't let
no.
you off the mic. You've exhausted your whole vocabulary. That's what's happening.
No, I'm just I'm a diehard music fan, and this is in no way shape. That's one of the beauties of technology. I would have never thought that, I would be talking to Jay. I played your music over and over again, and it just, your voice, your tone, and you have this distinctiveness that I love about you. And I mean, I can still see it today when I just, you gave me a little tidbit, and I didn't hear you didn't miss a beat. So with all that said, man, I'm glad to, that you took the time out of your busy schedule to, come sit down with us here at Bridging the Generation podcast. And we love you. Looking forward to many great things in the future. If anything that you do now, Jane, let me say this. It's just icing on the cake. It's a bonus, because you already a legend in our eyes, and we love you. And I'm gonna give you your flowers.
Well, thank you.
Well, look, we about to get out of here. I'm Malak Arif. This is Bridging the Generation podcast. We have the lovely, the talented, the amazing Mrs. Jean Carne. We signing out. Any last things you want to say before we get out of here, Jean?
Oh gosh, just I want everybody to stay safe, and I look forward to seeing everybody on the other side of the crisis.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, it look like things is getting a little better. You
Yes,
know,
they
we
are.
got Biden, we got Kamala Harris. It's things getting a little better.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
You know, so look, we signing out. Thank you, Jean. You take care. You have a good night. We love you. Take care.
All righty.
All right. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.